All right, so we're going to take a weird deviation from the standard. Take a look at a document by Triaxx called Monk Revamp by Triaxx. Now, Triaxx, who's in chat right now, wrote this. So we're going to take a look at it, give it a critical eye. Critical hit, you will say, to our frontal lobes with what we can. What's wrong? What's right? How will we fix them? And enhancement trees. I'm stoked. How many billions of pages is this? 5 pages? All right. I'm listening. I like reading ideas. So what's wrong with monks? The big question is, what's wrong with monks? First thing that's really kind of wrong is hand wraps. Everyone wants to play a punchy monk, and it works great until you have to fight more than one enemy at a time. It's fine if you have whirlwind attack. No, it's not. But if you can't afford the feats for it and haven't gotten it yet, you'll find yourself staring longingly at your soulstone with distressing frequency. This is a very... I like the way this is worded. I disagree with the it's fine if you have whirlwind attack, but I like the way this is written so far. The second is they tend to go poof when they encounter wizards, clerics, shamans, and anything else that casts magic. MRRs become quite an important stat, and monks don't get much because robes, clothing are hard capped at 50. You know, I don't buy into this 50 gets you killed argument. The only place where this is correct is too odd to handle and hunter be hunted. If you are in melee, you die with bad MRR. That's just how it works. Sorry. Hunter be hunted, you gotta get 100 or you're just dead. Because there's all the poison damage you can't make saves for. Also, feats and needies exist. Let me tell you, 20 levels is a long wait to get defenses. Also, you don't need MRR before 20, yeah. MRR doesn't really do anything until epics. That being said, but we'll continue. Third is splashing, which on monk is quite powerful, but is quite limiting as well. You can splash for stances, but then you're locked into robes, and you end up losing other class features that are quite important. That is true, and I can't argue with that. Fourth, we have the enhancement trees. Henshin has amazing powers, and so does Shintao. Ninja Spy, though, oof. We're going to have to fix that one up, of course. And finishing moves. You have 3 key powered abilities set up a finisher, and if you do anything else, you break your combo and have to start over. Some of them are so bad, it's not even worth using them. 3 times air, probably useful, but better just kill them with earth. Same with water. Fire is niche for breaking doors, but 40 key to open a door. Can you use Breath of the Fire Dragon to open a door? Did not know that. The thing is, at least it's fast, because you can use each fist. You can do like the apprentice, journeyman, master. You can go like boom, boom, boom. So here we go. Oh, there we go. Burning tents. What's right with monks? So if we got what's wrong, what's right? Well, the first thing is their class heavily based on their abilities, and that's key. Early on, it's a bit of a struggle to maintain key, and later on, you're basically running with a key bar that's full all the time because you can't stop generating it, which is amazing. The moment you hit that tipping point, you feel it and just start to roll over things as you just keep firing your attacks. I would argue that as long as you're in fire stance, you're kind of always in this full key bar thing. But yeah, if you're not playing in fire stance, you're not always at full key. Big fact. Big true. So that's a big one. Like I said, if you're in the early levels, if you have fire stance, you're fine. In the early levels with like wind or ocean, it's a bit of a bigger struggle. But at cap, you're always full no matter what. Doesn't matter what you're using, you're always a cap. Second, monks have some pretty unique powers. Key Shout. Key Shout got such a big, like, actual fix and rework that I remember Linabelle was talking about how long it took, and yet you still don't really use it. Jade Strike and Tomb of Jade, which are nearly unique CCs until you hit epics, and if you can swing the points, you can strike through, use them on a staff. That becomes a bit of an issue. If you've never Tomb of Jad on a staff, it's good. And also, Key Shout. I'm not saying Key Shout is bad. It's a good ability, and it is useful on a monk. You just don't see it very often on monk. Third, speed. Monks get bonus move speed, abundant step, and they attack fast. Move fast and feel fast. This makes an important comparison to fighters who are slow, steady, and unstoppable. Oh, don't... you gotta... There's some stoppable fighters out there. Fighters don't have evasion. Or dodge. No dodge evasion. And also, yeah, they're both in D tier together, so it makes sense as you would write them both. Yeah, that's true. They're both in the D tier. D for Drash. Anyway. Fourth, monks are hard to hit. They pile their wisdom into their armor class, they get high dodge, and if you want to land a hit on a monk, you gotta be lucky. Unless you're playing as a strength monk, which are surprisingly easy to hit. But in general, wisdom monks are pretty good. Dream tier. There you go. Just got to flip the old Uno reverse. They get enough MRR to struggle some spells. Oh, I'm not saying fighters are bad. I'm just saying fighters, yeah, they're stoppable. Anyway, 5th, finishing moves. I know. This is what's in the rush wrong, but there are many of these are completely unique. Triple Earth, I'll do bonus damage and stop spells. Triple Light, I'll heal myself and my allies. Doesn't do me much in Reaper, but a heal doesn't rely on that on valuable SP. Sign me up. Bro, you know what else doesn't rely on valuable SP? Potions. Brought to you by the Alchemist Alliance. Buy your potions from Featherfall's Apothecary. We got a deal going on right now. It's 25% off all healing potions. That's right. You got your healing poultices. That includes remove disease and remove poison. You got something to cure. Come down to Featherfall's Apothecary. Get yourself some healing potions. 25% off, but only through the weekend. You've got those just this weekend. 25% off. Get your potions. Save those spell points. I don't know what I did. Anyway, how would I fix them? So we'll start with what's wrong. All right. 2-weapon fighters versus stacks of enemies. Rangers do it by getting strike through, which is cool, but let's not stop on their toes. I agree. That is something I wholeheartedly agree with. I hate when people are like, oh, just give this one ability to another class. No. Give something that's cosmetically similar, but not the same thing. Instead, let's take a look at Monk for inspiration. In Shintao, we can find an enhancement that gives offhand attack chance. So what if we start at level 1?
I just learned from
2-weapon fighting
that jumping makes you go up, which is above you.
That's right. It is above you. In Shintao, we find an enhancement that gives plus 10% offhand chance. So what if we start at level 1 Monk with 2-weapon fighting? You have a 10% chance to have a momentary 100% strike through on your next attack, and 10%. Okay, so basically what you're saying is that as you level up as Monk, for whatever reason, you just get a chance to get strike through on your next attack. If you're a Monk with perfect 2-weapon fighting, you get another 10%. So half your attacks include a second enemy. This steps on Ranger's toes only a little bit since we can't control it. I actually think something that might work a little bit better is, think of it like, because this really steps on Ranger where it's just kind of free. I feel like Monk has a lot of buttons to press, okay? You got to press buttons when you play Monk. So what you should have is something that is more designed along the lines of opportunity attack from Kensai. In opportunity attack, you can use it to give yourself extra damage, but to get charges back, you have to get hits. Imagine if Monks had a buff they could put on themselves, or like a special cleave attack that just used the regular animation, but or like a button that was like cause your next thing to strike through. But it was based on, it had like a charge system, so you had to expend the charge that would then give you the strike through, and you would get the charges back by fighting monsters. Might be a little bit more to stick on the Kensei side away from the Ranger side. Still, I like the idea of a thing happens which then lets you strike through that isn't always directly in your control. There's like an RNG element to reacting to what's happening. Maybe you can like open a fight with it, so you already have the charge when you rest, but then after that, you got to fight, and then you get the charge back, and then you get to choose. I press the button, sort of like Adrenaline, where, boom, now I have the strike through, and then I can hit him with the Tomb of Jade, or I can hit him with the Grasp of the Earth and Dragon, or I can hit him with the Nauseate attack. Monk should make enemies freaking explode. We're not playing Diablo 3 right now, okay? Not playing Diablo 3. Second thing on the list, someone wiggles their fingers at us, and death follows, but we're hard to hit with a punch, so for every 5% dodge, plus 1 MRR and MRR cap, seems reasonable, not game-breaking. The thing is, so MRR cap is not hard to get, okay? Stop complaining, you guys. It's not hard to get. You don't need MRR in Heroics. Most people don't even have any magic resistance rating in Heroics. You don't need this. You can't, I don't even know if it's physically possible for most characters to get above 50 before level 20. Even, like, straight up, like, unless you're playing a tank character, you're never going to have above 50. And in Epics, you've got Filigree, you got that 40 extra from the Filigree Naya stools, which you don't want to spend, but you can get. And then you got the extra 15 from Grandmaster. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, man. It's not bad. And so yeah, there's that. I don't know about this. I mean, this is a really low number too. So even if they literally added this in right now, most Monks are probably kicking it between like 35 and 40% dodge, probably on average, if you look at like players that are at the end game. So this would be 8 extra MRR cap. That's basically 0, so that's fine. Mind and Matter set. There you go. Splashing. This one's a little bit tougher. I think we can solve this feat. It requires 2 monk levels, base attack bonus 6, sure. We call it Spirit of Steel. While centered or fighting with a key weapon, you count as wearing medium armor for the purpose of enhancements rely on wearing medium. So if you want to splash 2 monk into your warlock, you can now take shape vestments and not feel like you're wasting a point. That's very cool. That's a great idea. I don't know about these requirements. I think these requirements are all over the place. Base attack bonus 6, dex and wisdom. I don't know what the requirements should be, but the fact that you count for the purposes of feat and enhancement requirements, but not actually as the effect, so it's not like you have heavy armor and you get the defense, that would be very, very, very interesting. That's just straight up a good idea. I love this. I'm trying to think of a way that this would be like bad. You can even have 3 feats. So I think that medium, I would rather do a light, medium, and a heavy. But most light things also give you while you're not wearing armor, but still. This is great. This is just a good idea. I have nothing else to say other than I think this would be fantastic. I don't like stat requirements that much. I would much prefer just like monk and then base stack bonus, which determines your level. I hate stat requirements. So 13 is fine. Because all I want to say is that stat requirements don't stop players from using this. They make it so you have to buy tomes, and that sucks.
Is that like webbing for swimming proficiency? Oh, even 3 feet holy.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that making this higher, it helps anybody. All it does is make it so that people who have tomes take these feats, and people who don't have tomes don't take these feats. That's it. Still, great idea. I like this. The heavy armor one is interesting. I don't know how I feel about the heavy armor one in terms of like how that would balance. You'd have to take a look at that, and my brain is not big enough to think right now. But the idea that you could actually count as if you were in heavy armor, again, for the purpose of feats and enhancements, not actually wearing heavy armor. It doesn't affect your MRR cap, doesn't affect the amount of armor class you get while wearing stuff. Very cool. That's a great idea. That should be in the game right now. Finishing moves. I got 2 thoughts on this one. Option 1 is probably easier. Punch with light, buff, bar, buff. Boom. Buff, bar, buff. What? Punch again, light 2. Punch a 3rd time, vanishes and locks into the finisher. Visual representation of where you are. 3rd stage is locked in as a buff. Signature retained through action. Oh. Yeah, just do the option 2. Just give a visual. So there's a class in Lord of the Rings Online called the Warden who is literally like this that just has a visual. Just put a visual. Put a little bar. 1, 2, 3, finisher. Easy. That's an easy fix. And then make it so it doesn't break when you step on something. Make it an in-combat thing. So you can only hold on to it for like, let's say like 15 seconds. Like your finisher is only up for 15 seconds. Then after that, it's gone. So just do that. Now for what's right. Early game, while you have lower key, attacks and abilities that generate bonuses should be more effective while your key is 0 or in a decaying state. That will reduce backloading while making the early game flow a little bit smoother so you can stop feeling like a fighter who doesn't have any useful powers. That should be an enhancement somewhere. If there was an enhancement somewhere in the tree that you had to take, that was like, oh, while your key is under your constitution or whatever, your stable key rating, you get +1 key as an enhancement. So while you're underneath your stable constitution, which say your constitution is 15 at level 3, then every time you attack, you get 1 extra key while you're under that 15. That might be overpowered in terms of balancing key later, but it would help with the early game a tremendous amount and make Monk feel way better. And it would also take some of the power out of fire. I don't know. I feel like they're both fine options. I don't know. I'm not sold on that either. I think that this is a problem of like you should just use fire stance. Like this the problem with this is like if you do add in something that makes it easier so you have key in the earlier areas, well then fire stance doesn't matter because why would you run fire stance when you could just always have your key anyway? So I think that probably fire stance is the right call. I don't know how I feel about this. If I would do this, it would be an enhancement, but then you'd have to just change what fire stance does, I think, entirely, and make fire stance do something else, which would be cool. But yeah, if fire stance exists, then this can't, and if this fire stance gets changed, then this could exist. I think in the same spot, you'd get too much key. Right, so let's talk about the enhancer trees. If you're going Monk, you're going Shintao, you're going Henshin. Ninja Spy is perhaps entirely too over-specialized. We'll come back. So let's see. Shintao has amazing CC in the form of Jade, Strike, and Tomb of Jade. And also Jade Strike 10% damage taken. I mean, come on. Trouble comes with them being tier 3 and 4, and it means you can take them and make them good, or you can take them and make them strike through. I'd probably drop them to 1 AP each. 1 AP each? That's too cheap. They're strong, but as also far long enough in the tree that the AP cost is possibly not justified. It's definitely justified. These abilities are crazy. That does leave Smite, Tainted Creature, and Dismissing Strike, though. Smite probably early enough that 2 AP cost makes sense for the power it has. Dismissing Strike is fine as an instant kill. You want to know what I would do? I would take an Exalted Smite change, leave all the costs here, and say Smite is a frontal cleave. Like Exalted Smite does. So Smite Tainted Creature is a frontal cleave. Kukendo probably should have stunning bonuses if it doesn't already. It does. This is not at least have it written in its tooltip. Yeah. In addition, I would like to see some sort of charge attack that lets me rush up to enemies faster. Reps, a daze, or a stun. I don't think this needs a charge attack at all. I disagree. That you have so much movement speed on a monk and you can fly around. So no, I don't like that. But yeah, if you just make... Because the thing is, I know they seem expensive, but they're so insanely good. Like, Tomb of Jade is too good of an ability to just make it worth 1 point. If it was a tier 5, absolutely it should be 1 point. But this is a tier 4. Yes, it's hard for Henshin Mystics to get it and also take Falconry for the wisdom and damage and also do other stuff. And I am sympathetic to that, but suck at Henshin Mystics, you do more damage. So get over it. Henshin Mystics, I can think of one thing I'd change, and it's to put staff attack speed down at the second core instead of the capstone, which gives a viable alternative to splashing a level of rogue. Yes, I don't know why the attack speed's in the capstone. Capstones should not be where you put quality of life feeling things. Get it out of there. Agree. Also, put in 2 more tier 5s. Please put in 2 more tier 5s that are cool. Thank you. Make monk cleaves cooldown 1 second shorter. Because cleaves are bad. The cleave feats need to get changed entirely. And then Ninja Spy. This tree looks good on paper and looks really cool sitting there on the enhancement screen, and the usefulness kind of stops there. It's a tree that's a bit of an identity crisis. It also wants to be a sneaky thief tree. It also wants to be a poisony ninja tree. And it's also the Dark Monk tree, except Dark Monk is bad, and this is one of the reasons why. Poison sucks. There's a lot to unpack here. I think the answer is most of what's being said here is correct, but I'm curious as to where the direction's going to go with some of these things. I think that I agree poison sucks. I think that Dark Monk can be bad, and there are reasons why, and Ninja Spy is one of those reasons why. But I wouldn't say it's bad because Henshin Mystic makes Dark Monk very good. But yeah, it does want to be a Sneak Thief and a Poison Tree and Dark Monk at the same time, which is a lot of things to balance in one area. So we've got Diversion in the cores. Sounds great. The Sneak Attack dice bonus doesn't work. Apparently it works. So you're left with, guess what, Diplo rather than the buff. The Sneak Attack dice, it's 5d6 as a Sneak Attack. It's pretty good. So that's fine. Touch to spare mods are toggles, so we can only have 1 active, but we take all for because of the bonuses. So let's make it like Arcane Archer Arrows, where we pick one, and either the ability gets stronger, or we set another toggle and get bonuses. Can we do the equivalent line with Shintao? That's actually literally just a good idea. That's just a good idea. Where, like, you could, I don't know how you make the Shintao one where it's like you remove blind. What's remove blind tier 2? I have no clue. But like Shintao toggle is like, it's less restore, then it's regular restore, then it's greater restore whenever you use your like healing key. Good idea. I have no idea how you would make that look. That sounds like this enhancement would look really ugly, actually trying to pick something, but this is a very cool idea. Also, almost every touch of despair mod is terrible. The other part of the equation is that Ninja Poison is a dot, and dots, well, dots aren't that good. That is correct. So I have to make it like a page from Creeping Cold, make it stack stronger as the dot lives, but let it die faster in exchange. So the problem is in the execution of this. So we're just going to take a look at Ninja Spy real quick for those people that don't know. So this is the tree here. And you get the Ninja Poison. So Sting of the Ninja, you poison your weapon with Secret Mixture. When centered, your piercing and slashing melee weapons inflict foes with a stack of Ninja Poison on critical hits. And Ninja Poison. Ninja Poison takes a d4 points of poison damage every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. The target's vulnerability to poison is increased by 5%. This is stacked up to 20 times. And on timer expiration, 5 stacks of poison are removed at a time. So you got to keep these stacks up, and it stacks up to 20 times. At 20 stacks, the target's taking double damage from poison, and so that's effectively 40 d4s every 3 seconds. Important note, I do not know, it might say this here, if this applies when you hit, which I'm unsure of, because it should. I don't think it does. I think it only applies every 3 seconds. I don't know if it applies on every single critical hit. That's a good question. I've never really tested this. Like, does it do the damage every critical hit? Like, if you crit, does it apply the damage of the stack, and then you crit again and you get the new damage of the stack? Because with a character like this, you can get a critical hit rate of about 35%. And so 35% crit rate, it's 1 in every 3 attacks, is critting. If you're at 40 D4s, scaling with melee power, on every crit added damage, if it applies the damage on hit, then it wouldn't really be a tick. It would just do the damage. So there's a thing there. I would say, as opposed to making it tick faster, and also if you reapply it, it resets the damage. So this would never work from the perspective of like a creeping cold dot, because every time you reapply a dot, it resets. So this doesn't work. I feel like a better way to just work this whole thing is make it so the Sting of the Ninja applies to poison your weapons that just makes targets more vulnerable per stack. So it just makes them more vulnerable per stack. And then either give them literally the Alchemist poison damage imbue in the cores or something, or have it just be the Touch of Despair finisher, where you explode with Poison Exploit, where you do damage per ninjas per poison stack. But even still, this is a bad number. I'm not sure exactly how you fix it. Or just kill it. Those are all options. And let's fix Flashbang while we're here, rounding the numbers and adding stun bonuses to it. The way you fix Flashbang, by the way, is Flashbang is either monk level plus there's 2 feats, or one that's wisdom and one that's dex. That's how you fix that, by the way. One was monk level plus wisdom, the other one's plus dex, and both include stunning. So that way, if you're playing as a dex-based ninja spy, which you probably are, it works. Now you might say, well, why would you put dex into here? And the answer is because, look, I know it's supposed to be wisdom for all the monk abilities, but come on. Come on. And last thing we need to give is proper identity. We'll replace deadly exploits because it kind of makes useless if we make poison stronger and doesn't work anyway. I'm thinking of giving some kind of bonus to single weapon styles, perhaps the anti-swash tree. Let's give it the ability to center while wielding rune arms, bucklers, and orbs, and we'll give it an empty hand power. So the problem with the deadly exploits is this increases your poison exploit, is that it only works... imagine this functions. This only works with one of your ninjutsus. Right? So it only works with one of these. So if you're using Poison Soul, Wave of Despair, or Impending Doom, one of 4 different abilities, you can't use, so 3 of the 4 abilities, Poison Exploit does nothing, and this is a 3-pointer that costs 2 AP per rank. How did this get into the video game? 75% of the time, you don't want this 6 enhancement point costing thing. My God. Deadly exploit could literally just be entirely reworked. A single weapon fighting thing, I wouldn't say anti-swash. I would say literally probably just give it the Vistani treatment. You know, the enhancement that's while single weapon fighting, get 20 melee power, while dual wielding, get 100% offhand attack chance. Just put that one in there. You could do this as well, which is just flat damage, but the Vistani one works really well in that spot. And then tier 5, we get our modifiers. So Shine Bright, while wielding... Oh, this is the upgrade to that. While wielding an orb in your offhand, monks are uncentered while wearing an orb, so you can't do that. While rooting a rune arm, they're uncentered while using a rune arm. Oh, give it the ability to center while using these. I don't like centered while using these things. It's anti-monk. No, anti-monk. Anti-monk. No. Maybe an orb? Maybe an orb. But rune arms and swashbucklers? No. No, I don't like it. It's so conceptually not good. You shouldn't have because the problem. So here's the major issues. 1, the rune arm you can't animate, so that's already a problem. If somebody is like trying to use like, well, not animate, but like it just doesn't look right on the monk with some of the different styles. I don't like it. No. Just get rid of it. No. I don't have anything else to say. I wish I had some like better thought. I did not read the ability to center while reading these things. I skipped these 2 lines right here. I don't like it. I would much prefer an expansion of weapons on here, like tier 4, you know, you can use a different weapon as a style, and then so like it would be like, oh, you can use like Kensai gives you weapon categories. So you know how like Kensai has like these different weapon categories. Imagine you could choose one of these focuses as a ninja spy. So you could be like, oh, I choose druidic weapons as a ninja spy, and now you can be centered by using clubs, daggers, quarterstaffs, darts, scimitars, sickles. And then that goes in there. And you could just, and as opposed to this, and then you could have your tier 5, which is like an upgrade to those things, which would be like, oh, druidic weapons, you get a druidic something. That's a follow-up of that. And heavy blades has a heavy blade follow-up, something like that. I'm not saying that these, I didn't even read these abilities. They're probably all very good. I just personally think that rune arms and bucklers, monks, I don't want them to use a shield. The closest thing I would ever get to a buckler or shield is a fan, which would be very cool. We should have a fan orb in the game, please. Just fan orb. But yeah. But we'll see. Although let me actually read these. While wielding an orb in your offhand, you gain 5 melee power and on a critical hit, you reduce the attack and armor class of mobs for 5 seconds. -2 attack. I'm assuming this stacks to like 5 times or something. That's not bad. That's a cool effect. It's not a great T5, but it's a cool effect. While wielding a rune arm, like it's good because it's got 5 melee power, but it's not great because it's not 20 melee power. Harmonics. While wielding a rune arm in your offhand, your weapon resonates with the universe, dealing 1d6 of random alignment damage, scaling off melee power. I think that this is kind of cool, keying into chaos. I think it would be better if this was not random alignment damage, but this was like random damage that is not, or actually no, it shouldn't be random. Monks are lawful. This should be like a certain type of damage. You should pick from probably a pool of damage specifically, and then obviously a d6 is too low. We all know that. For a tier 5. Blitzing strike. While wielding a buckler, perform a charge to trip targets. Untargeted charge. Oh, so this is just like shield rush. And sharp blow. With an empty offhand, activate to strike target's throat, rendering them unable to cast spells for 6 seconds and doing 2d6 force damage scaling on melee power. So important note that silences are so niche that when they're tier 1, they're not taken. So a tier 5 silence is also pretty bad. Even though the benefit is you already have this ability, you're probably not taking this. So, yeah. Even if you wanted to go through with this, I think that either this needs to be upped or there should be maybe a better synergy where harmonics is after firing your rune arm, you gain additional damage on your melee attacks. And while after melee attacking, you gain stacks that increases the damage of your rune arm. Like imagine that when you fire your rune arm, so like harmonics, when you fire rune arm, you gain 50% attack speed for your next attack that reduces by 10% for each attack. So you fire your rune arm and then you get 50% attack speed. First hit, 40%, 30%, 20%, 10%, 0%, back to normal. So you get 5 attacks off really quickly. And then on inverse, when attacking with your main hand weapon, each attack increases your rune arm charge rate by 10% up to a total of 50% until you fire your rune arm. So when you fire your rune arm, you get a buff for your melee attacks, and when you use your melee attacks, you get a buff for your rune arm, but they turn each other off. Something like that would be neat. Monks can easily deal with Famine Reapers. They have a nauseate effect that would actually work really well here. I think Dark Monks get this specifically. I'm like almost certain of it. Monk. Finishing move. Is it Dark Earth? Dark Earth. Yeah, Pain Touch. Yeah, with Pain Touch, attack speed cannot cast. So you can already do that for a minute. Now, if you did not know that this was possible when writing this, don't worry. Nobody did. And if you did know about this ability, don't lie. You didn't know. You didn't know. So yeah. So you could already do that. And then, like I said, this is just a copy of Vanguard Charge, which could probably be reworked. So like if Shine Bright was like 10 melee power, And if the harmonics was that, like, you go back and forth sort of thing, Blitzing Strike became something new, and then the Sharp Blow got replaced with something new, probably, it could be good. And then, of course, there's the other option, which is, so just to be clear, I think that a lot of your ideas are really cool here, as we talked about before. So if it sounds like I'm being really critical, there's a lot of really cool stuff that is written here. I'm just giving my direct feedback about stuff, and sometimes good ideas, bad ideas sort of thing. Enhancement trees. Of course, there's another option, which is to completely rip out the monk trees as they exist and rebuild things from the ground up. And the obvious things to base them around are monk stances and sorcerer enhancement trees. Oh, 4 trees, 1 for each stance. Now, that's an interesting idea. Would they be mutually exclusive? I have no idea. We'll see. So, flowing water. This tree is built around water stance, strong but slow charges, like a tidal wave landing. Flowing defenses buffing dodge even harder to make this surprisingly defensive tree. Water stance is so good, you don't even need a tree. So I can't imagine how much further you would push dodge with this one. They should institute a dodge cap, absolute dodge cap of 50%. They made it 95%. It should be 50% hard cap. For the record. Anyway. But it's also a staff tree, gaining waves on shore, a frontal cleave trip attack, tidal pool, which functions as a pulsating defensive aura as long as you don't move. No. This is bad. This is a bad idea. Don't move on the fastest class in the game. No. It culminates in Monsoon, a 3-hit whirlwind cleave, which does bonus ice damage. You understand, there is an ability in the game which already does this. So, Henshin Mystic. So, Cauldron of Flame, you used to not be able to move at all. Not even once. You had to stay in the dead center. Now you just have to stay in the actual cauldron itself. But you used to have to stay in literally the center and not move. This ability was terrible until they changed that. Unusable. Even if you could intimidate with key shout, it's not good. So if this was like you had to stay in an area, it would be cool. But if you can't move, oof. Once in a 3-hit, 3W whirlwind cleave, which does bonus ice damage. That's kind of cool. I like that. I like the element like kind of teeing in, so you get like an ice damage thing. There should be weapons tree and 2 more trees combine 2 elements each. Yeah, the problem is these would need to be mutually exclusive, just like the sorcerer tree, and then you need the monk eldritch knight, something like that. Volcanic fists. Cool. There's a fire stance tree, combines key spells, staff, and 2 of support, stacking dots, and big single target attacks. 5W Burning Stone range attack does fire and bludgeon. Burning Spire is a 3d6 fire damage on a single target, adding a stack of Scorching debuff as a T5. Kind of cool. And Fire Stance attacks of all kind add stacks of Scorching, which does damage per 5 monk levels and stacks up to 3 times. Capstone increasing stacking to 5 times. Home of Rise of the Phoenix. So what if this Scorching idea was that there were different abilities in the tree, and you scorch targets to make it so when you hit them, you deal extra damage to them, but they got a higher scorch for each different ability you use. Right? So you have the Burning Spire, you have the Burning Stone, you have something else, Fire Stance itself, and they all add a separate debuff, and when you hit them, you deal damage based on the number of debuffs that they have, so you have to constantly swap between applying the Scorching effect, basically like making their armor really brittle, and then you start hitting the brittle areas to do more damage, but you only get the bonus damage after you've used the attacks. I don't know. So as opposed to it being like a buff you apply on yourself, it's an enemy buff? Enemy debuff? I don't know. Probably a bad idea because of how fast people go through quests. Stone Abides. Unsurprisingly, Earth Stance. What? Staff and Raps Tree. This is where Jade Strike and Kukendo live, along with Keyshout and Flashbang. Flashbang here? I feel like Flashbang should be in the Air Stance. Tree has active defense buffs and a bonus damage against helpless targets. T5 Crack the Mountain. 8W Great Cleave with a 1-minute cooldown. 8W Great Cleave with a 1-minute cooldown? I wouldn't take that. And 100 key cost? It could cost 0 key. 1-minute cooldown 8W? If this was 8W plus 2, now we're talking. And I'd take it. But just 8W? No way. Targets make a DC 20 Monk Wisdom stunning or be deafened for 10 seconds. Oh man. Then they have to make an arcane check to cast their spells. Deafened is a weird effect. It's a weird effect. And then lastly, dark monk tree. Oh. So we have a dark monk tree, but we don't have a light monk tree, if I'm reading that right. Interesting. 2 weapon fighting and shuriken support, stealth support and buffs, whispering strike, targeted charge, which plus. This is just a good idea. Monks should have a shiv style attack in their tree. In the other one, shadows within shadows, invis and concealment power. That's just a good idea. Falling rain, many shot style ability, shares cooldown, but fires 3 shurikens. That's a cool attack. I like that idea, and the name is good. Thunder down the mountain, which deals a bunch of damage and some lightning on hit and some damage on critical. This ability is basically a tier 2 effect in Battle Engineer. Is a tier 2 Battle Engineer effect. So this one needs to be up way more. This should be like a d6 of lightning damage per level and 2d6 per level on critical, and even then, it's probably fine. Shadows cannot exist. Oh, wait, Shadows light lands here. Shadows and ending capstone. All enemies in the range are darkened into small fog, and the similar mischance also covers the wearer in darkness, giving a 5% dodge, ignoring dodge cap for 10 seconds. These trees do sound interesting. All of the numbers here are wildly underpowered compared to just effects that are in other existing enhancement trees. So cool ideas, but wildly underpowered. You could go crazy with these numbers. The thing that I've always learned when looking at these things is you aim big and you put like a giant number on the page and then you scale it down. Because when you put it under, you don't realize how cool an ability is, but if you put it over, you can scale it down to where it feels balanced, but still is very, very cool. In conclusion is I've probably royally stuffed this up and will make all monk players mad at me, but that is correct. So Triaxx, this is a really cool document. Thank you for taking the time to write this. A lot of it's really cool. So things that we've talked about the what's wrong. I don't agree with everything that's wrong or what's right with monks, but I would say that I love the 2-weapon fighting idea where you get a momentary strike through. And I like the idea of controlling it, but not knowing when you can control it. Basically turning that strike through into like an adrenaline style thing. I think that's a really neat idea because this is cool. So I love that. This is just a number. This splashing thing where you can count as having a different armor feat is literally so good. It should be in the game, and I can't think of a reason why it shouldn't be. Oh my god, it would make multi-classing so much more interesting on a monk. Instead of having to just give up on all these feats, you can count as being part of the feats. Anyway, I would say that the caveat is you have to be centered and fighting with a key weapon to make sure that it's not just, oh, you count as wearing medium armor, but you're actually just a regular warlock or whatever it is. So you already did that, so you're genius. And then the finishing moves, they should just make a UI, obviously. And then we talked about this. If you did make an enhancement in one of the trees that was like you gain bonus key if you're under your key thing, or even a passive for monk.
To give them a gun.
In fact, actually, that is a good fix for monk. Just give them a gun. If this was just a passive, where if you're underneath your passive key, or like your passive key, but underneath your concentration in terms of key, so whatever your stable key level is, you gain 1 extra key, they could just entirely rework Fire Stance into doing something else, which would be kind of cool. And then we already talked about the trees. So either way, a lot of really interesting and cool ideas. I love the idea of moving the henshin attack speed down. It should be like that. Give me that smite hitted creature as a frontal cleave because it could use it because monks need the frontal cleave. And then as we've talked about here, you have a lot of interesting ideas for how to solve Ninja Spy, and so do I. And I just want to be clear, my ideas are wrong and your ideas are wrong. Ninja Spy is very, very bad. It's very hard to figure out how it's good. So thank you for sharing this with me. I really appreciate it. This is super cool, dude. I don't know if this was cool for you or fun, but I enjoyed reading over it. So I'm grateful that you gave me the opportunity. Get monk out of D tier and fighter also. Somebody has to be in D tier, dude.